Tonight we are doing a full movie review and plot outline of the movie Caught Stealing, Darren Aronofsky's Caught Stealing, which is based off a book. It was originally a book and it got turned into a movie. And speaking of books, this movie review is brought to you by my book, Dialogues, Oklahoma Independent Cinema. It's a book I wrote this year. You can purchase it on Amazon. It's also about the future of film and AI. Where is it? Right here. Future of AI in film, which talks about the stuff we're experiencing and the technologies that have enhanced AI so much to the point where you can basically make a movie with just AI, some basic tools, yourself as an actor. You know, there's just so many things you can do. So that's very interesting. I talked about it. I predicted it before it happened, and now we're living it. It's also brought to you by the Stay Gold Film Festival, which is on Film Freeway. You can submit your shorts there. But anyways, yeah, it's interesting movie. I like these gritty, tough, kind of movies. There's a bit of an edge to them. I like seeing those characters that I like, which are like punk characters, people with mohawks. We haven't seen those kind of characters lately in movies. So I enjoyed the movie. It's got like a bit of Mean Streets kind of vibe to it, New York, 1998, kind of a gangster vibe. Russians. There's this guy named Colorado. He's like a Cuban gangster, So it's got all that. But it's really just about a guy who failed at baseball and his past haunts him, and he's pretty much living passively in New York and as a bartender, and he gets caught up in a mess of gangsters that he had nothing to do with. It's all because of his neighbor, his punk mohawk wearing neighbor who is in the crime scene. And because he left, him leaving unexpectedly kind of made everyone go crazy. All the gangsters, and there's a good reason. There's a good reason. And that's the inciting incident of the movie, which is kind of funny because it's such a small, tiny little moment in the movie where um, Hank is the main character, played by Austin Butler. Right, he's the guy we're talking about who's living in New York. Passively, he drinks beer. He's a bartender and all this stuff. Anyways, his neighbor is the punk guy, right? And so he has to leave unexpectedly because his father is in the hospital. He's dying. He's got to go, and he asks, we got a comment below. Who's Bree? What's up? How's it going? Another comment. The goat Triver. Did I say that right? What's up? Welcome. But yeah, the inciting incident, which is such a tiny little moment in the movie, and it's so funny because it's one of those classics. You say yes to a mundane thing and it turns your life upside down, right? And it happens on the 5 minute mark, pretty much. Pretty early in the movie. The last movie I did review on, it was Wake Up Dead Man, and that has a delayed inciting incident. The inciting incident doesn't happen until like 30 minutes into the movie, which is crazy. But in this movie, it happens 5 minutes on the dot. So basically, Russ, the Mohawk punk guy, asks his neighbor Hank, our main character, to watch his cat because he's got to leave to London. And so reluctantly, he's like, "No, I don't like cats. I don't want to watch it." Yvonne, Hank's girlfriend, is there and is like, "Yeah, you should do it. No biggie, we'll do it." So they leave and whatnot, and and the movie starts. But I don't really. It's a good movie. It's a solid movie. And like I said, it's got a very it's Darren Aronofsky. It's got a dark humor to it. It's a kind of a neo-realistic noir, I guess you could say, a drama, crime thriller. Lots of little twists and turns, little lies here and there. Keeps you kind of guessing a little bit because you're kind of with Hank. You're like, what is going on? I have nothing to do with this, and you guys keep coming at me like I have everything to do with this, and I don't. He's like, he gets thrown in the mix of this because again, Russ leaves, and a lot of shenanigans happens. But I will say this: there weren't that many inconsistencies in the movie. I kind of made a short and talked to like three inconsistencies that I saw, but they're pulling at straws because they weren't that horrible. I've seen some really bad inconsistencies, and in this movie, they weren't that bad at all. They're not even anything. I'm just pulling at straws. Essentially, one that I called out was you have the Hebrew what is the name, the Draken brothers, Lipa and Shmuley. They're pretty much dressed as like they look like rabbis. They're going around with guns. What up, Carly Thomas H5X? And so they're running around. They're going to kill this woman, and they go to this club first, and they put on silencers on their guns, and they start shooting up the place. And they walk out of the club because the woman they were supposed to kill runs out. Well, for like half a second, you do see one of them fiddling with the gun, like like they were taking off the silencer. But it's like half a second. You don't even notice it, and they're so far away. But anyways, it could be that they took off the silencers, but I don't understand why they would do that. But anyways, later down the movie, here in a minute, they catch up to the woman and shoot her. But again, they don't have silencers on, and they did a whole thing of them walking, putting on silencers before the whole thing happened. And so now they don't have it. So I thought that was a little weird. And then soon after that, not even just immediately, you have Hank and these two rabbi-looking dudes with guns. They walk back to the van, and it was daylight when they walked back to the van, and suddenly it's like nighttime, and you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa! It's not like they walked for like 30 minutes to get to their van. It was like right there. It should have been 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes to get to the van. So it was just weird that it was suddenly nighttime. That didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. And then soon after that, they get in a car crash on purpose. Hank does it on purpose to pretty much kill him. And supposedly, the guy sitting in the front seat, his name is what's his name, Lipa. He goes through the front glass supposedly, right? And there's a shot of the front car in slow motion hitting a column, like a metallic column of a bridge. And you see the front of the car get smashed in, right? And you see it, and you see the glass break, but you don't see anybody going through the glass though. You look and you look. The next shot is of Lipa on the ground. What's up, Hams? What's going on? Welcome back. I'm going over this, doing this review, but I thought that was weird. So those were the three little inconsistencies that I saw with the shots. Not a big deal, they happen so quick. Doesn't ruin the movie at all or anything. I thought the movie was good. It was entertaining. Again, the only thing I didn't like was the character arc. The character arc wasn't that like extraordinary, but still, it was still there. It was still in there. You have a guy, Hank, who's just he's haunted by his past because in the way he kills off the some of the biggest, antagonists in the movie. He kills them off by wrecking his car. Him wrecking his car early in life during high school is what haunts him. It's what made him passive. It's what made him scared of living life. It's what made him run away from it basically ruined his life. He was on his way to becoming a huge baseball sensation, baseball player. And he gets in a car wreck with his friend. He ends up killing his friend. And so we get these little glimpses of that moment that like every time he goes to sleep, he has the same recurring dream of him running into a telephone pole or whatever, and just with this he's got like a what car was he driving? It was like a Camaro of some sort, I think, and he crashes it. And so it's funny enough because he's become very passive. He's pretty much aimless. He's not really taking life too seriously. He doesn't really have direction. He's drinking. He's a bartender, right? He went from being potentially a really great baseball player to just this, right? And he feels it. He's really bitter about it. He's bitter about the fact that he lost it. He had everything in his hands and he lost it all. He's very bitter about that. You can see it in some of the scenes in the conversations that comes out. He gets drunk. He gets drunk because he doesn't want to face the truth. It's just he doesn't want to face the fact that You know, it was his fault. He killed somebody. He ruined his life, right? And he says that later on. Later on in the movie, he accepts it finally. He confronts his fear of 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 that fact. You know, that's what happened to him, and it's been haunting him. It's been haunting him this whole time, and he's just been afraid of confronting it. Um, but finally, he becomes his character arc basically goes from, you know, beginning of the movie. Like I said, he's passive. He's aimless, and he doesn't really have any real direction. And then towards the middle of the movie, his instincts start to kick in because he's being attacked constantly by these Russian guys, and he's being just shoved every way possible. Things are not going well, so he's leaving that mentality of, oh, I didn't do anything, so I'm innocent, so nothing bad should happen to me. But that doesn't work. That's not working here. He can't be passive. He's got to start. He can't just be reactive. He can't be a victim. He has to actually start making choices that make sense for him in the moment. It's time to survive. Not only survive, but it's time to hit back, you know? And so basically, after the midpoint, towards the end, he's more aggressive. He's his survival instincts have really kicked in, and so his morality has gone out the window because it's pretty much the theme in essence is, if you're passive, the life will basically choose for you, right? Essentially, and punish you for it. And so it's finally flipped towards the end. His character arc is he's making choices now. He's the author of his life. You know, he's not just reacting. He's active in the choices that he's making. His instincts come in for his wit, his capability for lying and tricking people. He's becoming like his enemies. You know, he's not a hero. He's not becoming a hero. He's not. It's not doing more morally right to seek justice. No, it's doing morally wrong to survive and get back at your enemies. That's pretty much how it goes in the movie, and that's the character arc. He becomes pretty stern in a sense that he's not like loosey goosey go with the flow. He's become stern, and like he knows what he wants, and you know and a lot of it came from all the shit he had to go through. You know, all the shit he went through, getting beat up by the Russians and losing a kidney and just like people dying around him. So he had to make some choices. He had to make some choices finally. Good morning, says Jimmy Royce from London, right? From England, from UK. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Have you seen Caught Stealing? I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Kind of reminded me of like old school Martin Scorsese movie or something. You know, just something along those lines. Um, you know, something like Mean Streets or I don't know, just that there's a grittiness to it. There's a dirtiness to it. There's a grittiness to it. Um, but essentially, yeah, I don't really. The only really other critique I have is that towards the end, um, you know, Hank is again. He's not making passive. He's not being passive anymore. He's making some clear choices, and he's kicking ass. And he gets in a fight with one of the main Russians that's been beating the shit out of him. I haven't seen the Odyssey trailer. I've seen pictures. I've seen pictures of the Odyssey trailer. I've seen comments about how it's not historically accurate, some of the costumes and whatnot. I haven't seen it, but I've seen pictures and comments. But I'm looking forward to it. Kind of has a Batman vibe, doesn't it? There's a bit of a Batman vibe. I think I've seen like little clips here and there, but not the whole thing. But I'm looking forward to that one for sure. But essentially, you know, this one, caught stealing. Like I said, at the end, there's you know everybody like basically dies. You have the two main Jewish gangster guys, Lipa and Shmuley. They die. You have the detective Roman, who's corrupt. She dies. There's one Russian guy gangster. He dies. Who else? The Colorado, the Colombian gangster, he dies. Even Hank's girlfriend dies. And there's the Amtrak, who's like the door guy at a bar. He dies, and then the bar owner, I think his name is Paul. He dies as well. So a lot of people die in this movie. A lot of people die in this movie, and it just seems like anywhere Hank goes, people start dying. It's like following him. It's crazy. But essentially, he gets to a point where he's fighting one on one with fists. There's this little Russian gangster dude that's been beating the shit out of him throughout the whole movie. He finally has a confrontation where he fights him, and Hank wins. He hits him twice, boom, and the guy's down. He's knocked out. But here's my critique with that part, because it's not like he killed him. He didn't kill the little Russian guy. He just knocked him out. So there is always an opportunity for that guy to wake up, come back, and start shooting people. There was plenty of opportunity, but it never happens. And so in my mind, I'm like, well, so what happened to him? Did he just get knocked out and that's it? He was out for the whole movie? That's kind of I'm almost not buying it. I'm not buying it that he was just knocked out for the rest of the movie. Like at any point he could have woken up and got his gun. He had a gun. It's not like Hank took it. And so at any point he could have came back, start shooting. It could have caused chaos, and it doesn't happen. So I'm just thinking like, I think something more should have happened there, but it didn't happen. I'm just not buying it that he was knocked out and then that was it. Did he die from getting knocked out? I don't think so. But I mean, I don't think so. Didn't seem like he died from it. But these are my critiques for the whole thing. But so let me get to the whole plot outline then. Let's get to the whole plot line. I'll cover I covered a bit of the inciting incident already. Some of the rising action, cutscene death, maybe, maybe some scenes were cut out, perhaps. But it was clear that he just got knocked out. Two punches, he was out, which is kind of funny. But like I said, there was plenty time in the movie for him to wake up, get back up, use his gun at any moment, and it never happens. And it's just kind of like, it's not like he was dead. He didn't seem dead to me. Just knocked out, you know. So I don't know. That's kind of left open ended because at the end of the movie, Hank goes to the airport. He travels to Tulum, Mexico, and lives out his paradise with all this money. But it's like, bro, that Russian guy isn't dead. Like, it's not like he's scot free. If he's not, if the one Russian guy, like everyone's dead except for this one Russian guy, you know, it's like, hello, like at any moment he could probably find him and kill Hank, like at any moment, you know. So it's not a complete ending in my mind, even though it's supposed to be. Um, but anyways, yeah, I'll go over the structure, the Act One breaking point, some part of Act Two midpoint, the second part of Act Two, the break point of Act Two, Act Three climax, and the ending, the denouement. They call it the denouement. The denouement, where you tie the story, all the loose ends, you tie them all together in a nice little package. But yeah, so it starts out with a nice little baseball game going on. It cuts to the titles, Caught Stealing. I like the art direction in it. I like the art direction because it's like a subway, and there's like subway tiles, in a tunnel, and they use the tiles to create the name title, which is a nice little touch there. But then it cuts to New York, 1998, Lower East Side, 4 in the morning. You got Hank working at a bar. It's closing time, and here comes Yvonne finishing her shift. We don't know this yet, but she's a paramedic, and they don't really show her working as a paramedic or anything. She's just wearing a shirt that says paramedic on it with emblems and stuff. We see that a bit later in the movie, and she's got some skills to sew up a little cut, but Other than that, if you're not paying attention, you wouldn't have known she's a paramedic. Nothing, it doesn't ever show her being like in an ambulance or anything. But like I said, the reason why I connect the dots with that is because she's wearing a shirt that says paramedic, and she was talking about how she saved a life. But that part wasn't very clear as well. It was very like nuanced, and if you missed it, like you missed it, like if it went over your head, But essentially, Yvonne comes to the door. She she flashes him, kind of a jokingly. There's obviously a relationship there. Um, they're obviously boyfriend girlfriend. They go to Hank's apartment. They fool around. Oh, before they go in the apartment, we're 5 minutes in the movie, and Russ comes out. Russ is the punk guy with the mohawk, and really, really charismatic English dude, English accent, really funny. And he's like, Hank, you gotta watch my cat. I gotta go to London. I gotta call. My dad's in the hospital. I think he's dying. I gotta go. And so he's off. Boom, he's off. Hank is stuck with the cat. Yvonne, the girlfriend, she was the one that was like, "Yeah, do it. It'd be great." And Hank was like, "Nah, I'm not good with cats. This and that." But this inciting incident is one of those classics, accepting a mundane thing to do that completely ruins your life. It's hilarious. The use of that in this movie is perfect because it's such chaos afterwards. You couldn't ask for a more mundane, simple little accepting a little tiny request. Just destroys your life. It's hilarious. So, anyways, he takes the cat in. Yvonne, this is an action that is so important. Yvonne brings the litty kitter, the box, the litty kitter, litty kitter sand, whatever, to Hank's apartment, which is huge. This is like really important. But not right now. We don't know anything. We don't even care about the litter box. Nothing. It's not important right now. But it comes to be a very important plot device. So essentially, they have sex. There's a lot of chemistry. They're in love. Essentially, they don't want to admit to each other that they are in love, but they're basically in that phase of the relationship. And so they wake up. She's got to go to work. It's 1 o'clock. He's drinking beers again. His alcoholic issue stems from the fact that he is haunted by his past, right? When he wakes up, he has the dream. He keeps having the dream of driving his Camaro into this. He's like driving fast, he's drinking, he's got his baseball gear on, his friend also, and there's a cow that's walking in the middle of the path. He swerves into a telephone pole or something, and boom, wreck, right? Massive wreck. His friend goes flying through the windshield, kills him, right? So he wakes up from that dream. He keeps having these nightmares and it haunts him. And so that's why he's so messed up inside and having all he's just passive in life. He's very passive and just not confronting his fears and his problems. He's just basically hiding. So she leaves. Um, Hank, he drinks a bit of beer, gets ready for the day, whatever, and is gonna go check on find like kitty food for the cat. So he's about to enter Russ's apartment. Here show up some Russians. Russians show up out of nowhere. You got a really small Russian who's probably like 5 feet tall. It's hilarious. He's really funny. He's not funny, but he's so serious and wacky and crazy in the head that he's funny. It's just funny to watch this guy. Then on the opposite end, there's a really tall Russian. So you got a really small Russian. I think they call him, his nickname is Microbe. And then and on the other end, you have this really tall Russian. It's like the funniest thing ever. But anyways, they're asking him questions like, "Where's Russ? This and this. Is he home?" And Hank is like, no, he's not home. And they're asking where he is. And he's like, none of your business. So the small Russian guy starts like picking on him, right? Until he finally just punches him in the face and a fight breaks out. And Hank, again, he's pretty passive. He's not even defending himself. He's just getting his ass kicked. He's on the floor. They're kicking him over and over and over. Finally, neighbors like, "What's all the commotion? I'm calling the cops." So the Russians have to leave. But essentially, that's where he passes out. Again, we go. He has another flashback while he's passed out, dreaming of the crash that haunts him. The wreckage, and he wakes up in a hospital. And Yvonne's there. It's been 2 days. They have to cut out a kidney because his kidney erupted and it would have killed him. So that's basically the breaking point of Act One, because he can't go back to his old life, even though he wants to and he tries. He tries, but he can't. He thinks he's, because he hasn't done anything wrong, and that he's innocent, that there's nothing that's gonna bad happen to him, right? Cornelius Zulius 6006 says, "I tried touching my poo, stinky, smelly poo, but it got all over my fingers." What's funny about that comment is there's a scene, I'll get to it here in a moment, but the key that everyone's after is hidden in a fake poo that's in the kitty litter. Remember, I said the kitty litter box was really important. It's going to play a big plot device in the movie. So, thanks for bringing that up, because that's what happens. But let's get into ahead though. So he wakes up in the hospital. Yvonne's there. It's been 2 days, and Hank's he's really close to his mom, and so he's like, "It's been 2 days. I haven't talked to my mom, so let me call my mom, right?" And he kind of lies to her. It's like, "Yeah, I just been had food poisoning, this and that. No big deal. I'll be okay." And he wants to leave the hospital. He's got a big gash that goes from his kidney was removed, so he's got a giant like gash that's been stitched up, but it's so hideous. It's fucking disgusting. I mean, it's hideous. So he's like, we got to go to the hospital because I'm not staying here any longer. It's been 2 days. The hospital bill's gonna kill me. It's gonna wipe me out. So I can't. The bill's gonna be huge. I gotta go home. So Yvonne's like, all right, well, you shouldn't go home, but if you do, make sure you don't drink alcohol, because that your kidney was removed, and alcohol is a toxin. Like, you're not allowed to drink alcohol ever again. You can't eat salt. You can't do this, do that. And so at that moment, Hank is like, all right, I got to make some changes in my life. Like I said, this is the breaking point of Act One. He can't go back to his old life, even if he wants to. He can't do it anymore. That's it, done deal. He's lost a kidney. He can't be drinking alcohol anymore. And so he's making an effort. He throws away all his alcohol. It's like it's really showing that he doesn't really have a problem, at least. But he's really doing it right. He's throwing all it away. He's getting his life together. He's doing his laundry. It just seems like, oh, everything is good. But then nope, nope, nope. Once again, here come the Russians, and he's deathly afraid of them. He's deathly afraid of them. So he's kind of hiding. And instead of going straight to his apartment, he runs upstairs to the roof, and he takes the fire escape to try to get to his apartment through the window. And while he does that, he sees into his neighbor's window where the Russians are. They're inside Russ's apartment, and they're just looking for something, right? They're just rummaging, throwing things, and looking everywhere. And so at some point, the little Russian looks out the window, and before you know he sees Hank. Hank moves out of out of the window, right view, before the little guy sees him. So he's got to jump off the fire escape to his window to get in, and so he almost dies right there. It's kind of crazy. So he gets in his apartment, closes the window, and here comes out the little Russian guy on the fire escape. He's looking around, doesn't see anything, goes back in the apartment. But that's when Hank got a little what do you call it? A little card from this police officer named Roman, and while he was at the hospital, and so he's got that card with him, and so he calls Roman, Detective Roman, like, "Hey, there's these Russian guys, are the ones that beat me up. They were here, and they broke into Russ's apartment, and they were looking for stuff." And again, at this moment, Hank has no idea what the hell's going on. And honestly, we don't know, as the audience. We have no idea what's going on. But the movie's officially started. Essentially, we're leaving the act two. I mean, the act one breaking point, and we're starting to get into act two. But act two doesn't really start until he's thrusted into the mission of finding the key, right? So what happens is we're pretty much setting up Act Two. Detective Roman shows up. The police are, they're doing their thing. They lock up Russ's room, whatever, his apartment. Detective is like asking Hank questions like, do you do drugs? Do you deal with the Russians? Do you deal? The detective shows Hank Lipa and Shmuley, these two Jewish looking dudes who are super dangerous. They're considered monsters. They have no problem killing people. And so very dangerous. And she says, if you see these guys, make sure you call me and whatnot. And she's trying to probe Hank, like, hey, what do you do? Do you do this? How do you know Russ? Do you deal drugs with him? Like, what's going on? Hank is like, I have nothing to do with these people. I don't do drugs. Russ is just my neighbor, like, and I just know him like that. Like, I don't have any connections, right? She's pushing for it. So eventually, what's funny is this is another little plot device that if it didn't happen, then Hank would have never found the key. So again, earlier, Yvonne took the kitty litter box and moved it into Hank's apartment, which is a huge plot device. Like that's important. Detective Roman being there and this cop who has to use the bathroom is basically a kind of comedic plot device. He comes in, uses the bathroom, uses Hank's bathroom because an emergency. He's got to poop. And Hank is like, make sure you hold the thing down or else it won't flush. So while they're conversing, they're kind of done talking. The cop finishes. The cop's like, I tried flushing, but it clogged. Sorry. And he leaves. The cop leaves. And it's a really funny moment because in your head, you're like, this is this. Why? Why would a cop just do that? But it's an obvious plot device. And so Roman leaves, and says, if there's anything you can think of, make sure you call me. And so Hank goes to fix the bathroom, right? He gets a plunger. It's like really gross. It's like water overflowing, TP in the thing, and it's just all brown, disgusting. He's trying to flush it and using the plunger, it overflows, water overflows. And this is what I mean by perfect plot device because the water overflows, right, with shit water, and he kind of like he stammers back because he doesn't want like the water to touch him, and so he kicks the kitty litter because it's in the bathroom. It shakes the kitty sand a little bit, and he looks down and he notices this fake toy poo, and he's looking at it and he's like, "What is that?" And he gets one of those little plastic kitty shuffle things that's got like holes and whatever, right, to scoop up poop in the sand. Anyways, he takes that to scoop it up and he notices it's fake and he turns it around and he handles it and there's a key inside. And once he does that, once he realizes he seems to that he you kind of connect two and two dots, right? There was Russians looking through Russ's apartment for something. Obviously, he found something important, a key. And so he hears some noises outside his apartment. He checks through a little peephole and he sees the two Jewish dudes that Detective Roman said they were really super dangerous and to call her as soon as you see them. And so that's what he does. He tries calling her, but it's like busy, can't reach her. So he calls again, leaves a message. And they leave. But he's like, I don't know what he's thinking, but he's like, he takes the key and he's like, I'm gonna go somewhere safe with it. So he goes to the bar, to his boss's bar, to give his boss the key and to hide there. But instead, what happens is before any of that can happen, he gets super drunk. The Giants, his favorite baseball team, wins a game. Everyone's celebrating. They urge him to get drunk, even though he's not supposed to. He drinks. He gets drunk. He gets stupid drunk. He doesn't even do what he was supposed to do, which was again, he's living passively. He's not making active choices. Again, this is like the whole character arc and really the whole theme of the movie, which is if you're going to live passively, life will make choices for you and you're going to suffer for it. So, anyways, yeah, he's being persuaded to drink and he drinks. He's having a good time. He's partying. He's like back to his old ways and gets stupid drunk. Yvonne comes in to pick him up. They're walking down the street and they're getting a fight because you know when Hank is drunk, he gets bitter because he's bitter about his life. You know, he had the dream in his hand, becoming a great baseball player, and he was really good. He had the talent, and he grew up being, this was his thing. You know, he was supposed to be a great baseball player, and it didn't work out. And he considers his life garbage. And as soon as he says, all I have is garbage, Yvonne is like, oh, thanks. You consider me garbage? I'm out of here. So she leaves, and so Hank is like alone. He doesn't live too far from the bar. It's like around the block, around the corner. So he's staggering, and he gets to his like front door, like the front door of the apartment building. He throws up. He pukes on the glass, like the door. It's fucking disgusting. And he's like, he gets puke on his shirt, on his pants. I guess because he's drunk, he decides to take off his shirt and pants while he's outside, and he just throws them to the trash. And he goes upstairs. He goes to his room, and he passes out. Right, and he has the same dream, right? That he always has. That he's in the Camaro and he crashes. He kills his friend. But every time we see that flashback, we see a little more of what happened. And like this time, we see that he like he wakes up from the crash, and there's a bone sticking out of his knee, and he's freaked out. And he's crawling, on the grass. So we always see a little bit more of what happened to him, and the thing that's the thing that haunts him. And so he's passed out. He wakes up from that nightmare, and there they are, the Russians standing right over him. Like the last thing you want to see is the Russians standing right over you, right? And they punch him in the face. They put him in a chair, and then we're introduced to Colorado. Uh, Colorado is like like a Cuban gangster who owns like nightclubs in the area, and the area is pretty much owned by the Russians. So that's how Colorado fits into all of this. And so Colorado is there. He's not the beat up type. He's more of the I'm going to show you my gun, and if you don't tell me what I want to hear, then my gun will, you know, do the talking. And so, Hank is like, no, I have no problem. I'll tell you everything. Like, Russ went to London because his dad was in the hospital, right? And he's like, okay, good. Tell us more. He's like, yeah, he left something, but it's not like he left it. I found it. I found a key in this poo, in the litter, this fake poo. And so the Russians check the litter box and the fake poo, and they don't find the key, and they get upset. Colorado gets upset. He's like, "Why are you lying to me? Okay, I am super nice to you. Why are you lying to me? Okay, man." And so they get really aggressive. And Hank is like, "I'm not lying to you. I got stupid drunk and I don't remember. Like, you got to give me some time." Yo, Krishna in the house. What's up, Krishna? So we're getting close. We're in Act Two, and we're getting closer to the midpoint. The midpoint is such a it's the maximum point of emotions for Hank. I mean, like what they did to him so far and what they do to him, what they took away from him is it just emotionally breaks him, right? And that's usually you find that in the midpoint for characters. This is the catalyst of things that change a man, right? And so that's why it's part of a character arc. But essentially, they're there, and they think he's lying, but he doesn't really remember. He's not playing games. He's like, I got drunk, I don't remember, you got to give me time. And they think he's just lying and playing games. So the Russians pull out some they find like a tool for like, what do you call it, not a wrench, but it's like a clipper type thing. And so they start pulling his stitches that he got from his kidney thing. They take out like two stitches. They're asking him questions like, where's the key? And he's like, I don't know. They boom, rip a stitch off. It's so painful to see too. Like as an audience, you're like, it's like, oh. And so, and they're like, what does the key go to? What does it open? He's like, I don't know. He's like, what? I don't know. They rip another stitch out pretty gruesomely. And then Colorado's like, enough of this. Like, you're done, asshole. He takes his gun and puts it against his temple, Hank's temple. He's about to shoot him, it looks like. But before anything could happen, you have the neighbor who's like, "Hey, keep it down there. What the fuck's going on? I'm calling the cops." And Colorado's like, "You tell that man to shut up and go away." And so Hank does. He's like, "Go away, shut the fuck up, go away, Daryl," or whatever his name is. And the neighbor's like, "What? No, you shut the fuck up." And like, so the Russians get agitated. The little Russian gets really agitated. He opens the door and he's like, "Get the fuck out!" Just yells at the neighbor. And Colorado's like, "What are you doing? He just saw everything. He just saw us. Like, we gotta leave now. He's gonna call the cops." So that saved Hank's life, or something was gonna happen. I don't know. I don't know if they were bluffing. They were gonna kill him, or if they were gonna hurt him really worse than that, or whatever. It came really close, so we're not really sure if he was gonna die or not. But it just seemed like he was. So that moment saved his life. Again, he's just being very passive. He's being very compliant, and that's not working. Like, he's not the type to hide anything. He's got no reason to hide anything. He really doesn't know. He's in the middle of things that he's got nothing to do with. What's up, Juan Latournoyer? 6873. What's up, Krishna? 10 minutes I will watch your live on my PC, he says. What's up, my brother from India? What's up, Juan? We're getting close to the midpoint here. We're getting close to the midpoint. And so, nick of time, they leave because they don't want to get caught by the police and whatnot. They can't just shoot him there because now the neighbor saw everything. So they leave. Hank takes the cat with him and makes his way to Yvonne's apartment, his girlfriend's apartment, and is like, "Hey, like, you gotta help me take care of the cat. You gotta help me get my stitches back in place." Like, and Yvonne's like, "What the hell's going on? Like, who are these people?" And Hank is like, "I can't tell you. I'll take care of it. No, we can't get the police involved because they said if I did, they were gonna hurt. Just don't do it. And so, all this and that, they talk. Yvonne takes like super glue to like help stitch the two little stitches that came apart. She super glued the skin there together, and then puts a tampon in his nose that was bleeding. It's pretty funny. She's like, "Yeah, this works." And so, they have a nice little moment, and he's like, "I gotta go. I gotta take care of this." And so he leaves the cat there. So he goes to a payphone because they talk about last night, the night where he got drunk, and he's like, "I'm pretty sure I left a key there." Yvonne's like, "It's like, I don't know. You talked to Paul. Paul doesn't say you left a key there. You got super drunk and really bitter about the baseball stuff." So then Hank is like remembering, "Yeah, yeah, the bar. I went to the bar. Yeah, I got the key. Must be there." So he goes outside. He goes to a payphone. He starts calling the bar. No one answers, and there's a van that pulls up like kind of behind him, and it's the two Jewish guys. It's Lipa and Shmuley, and they're like, one of them. Lipa comes out, and he's like, "Hey, Hank, we gotta talk to you." And Hank is freaked out. He's like, "Oh my god!" He starts running away. There's a big little chase scene going on. He runs into a grocery store, and they're chasing him. He gets cornered, but then he like jumps over uh, a thing, like a frozen section area. He jumps over it, and they're chasing him, and he's using his like baseball skills to get away. He's really fast. He's sliding. He slides underneath this thing, and that gives him time to get ahead. He like hides in an alleyway, and he loses them. And so he's at this bar. He's having a beer. He calls Colorado because he calls him and is like, "Hey, listen, like I know where the key is, but I'm gonna go get it, right?" And Colorado's like, "Oh, I'll go with you." He's like, "No, no, no, don't go with me because it's at a friend." And Colorado says, "Oh, you're Chica in Chinatown," and that's Yvonne, Hank's girlfriend. He freaks out, and because Colorado said, Colorado's like, we're going to hurt the people you care about. And so that freaks him out. So he goes back to Yvonne's place, and when he gets there, it's the craziest shit. She was shot in the head. She got shot and killed in the head. The least person you expect to get killed in the movie was Yvonne. I did not expect Yvonne to get killed. When that happened, it was like, holy crap, I can't believe that happened. It was one of those moments. And for Hank, Hank was devastated. He was destroyed. He was just destroyed at that moment. He calls the police. Next thing he's at the police station talking to Detective Roman. And she's got these files. It's like, oh, it turns out you were really good. You were a prodigy baseball player, but you managed to fuck that up. Shows Hank pictures of Yvonne shot in the head on the floor, bleeding out. You managed to fuck that up, and is like pretty much being really mean to him. But at the same time, is like you need to like come clean to me because if you don't, more people are gonna die. But Hank doesn't know shit. He's literally got mixed up with the wrong people for no effing reason, just because he was just so passive and he wasn't making clear choices and he just got in the middle of things. And so Detective Roman's like, okay, let's get out of here. They go get some coffee at a coffee shop, whatever. They're talking, and Detective Roman's explaining, okay, these are the Russians. This is who they are. This is what they do. This is their area. There's a guy named Igor. He basically he's the big Russian mob boss, and then explains to him the two Jewish Hebrew looking dudes, Lipa and Shmuley. They're very hardcore. They're and says they were the ones that killed Yvonne, and says it in a way that's like, well, I'm certain they killed her because you ran away from them, and because you ran away from them, they wanted to send a message to you that they're not people to fuck with, and so pretty serious stuff. And then Detective Roman's like, I've called for backup, because Hank is like, what do we do now, because like he says like. It's like I think the key's at the bar, but I'm not really certain because I got really stupid drunk and I just think it's at the bar, right? But he's not really certain. So Detective Roman's like, all right, we'll wait for backup. So and then Roman like opens up how like she grew up in the neighborhood. She's really like been here her whole life. She's really tired of it and wants to like at the end of it all, she wants to retire, move to a little place in Mexico called Tulum with the beaches. Which is funny enough, that's where Hank ends up at the end of the movie, is in Tulum, Mexico. I'm pretty sure that's where he got it from. And so we're pretty much at the midpoint. We're getting really close. This is the midpoint. He's gotten, and the true midpoint really is when Roman called for backup. Guess who shows up? The freaking Russians in Colorado. Hank knows there's some funny business going on here. The detective is like corrupt, working with the Russians in Colorado. So he's been played with this whole time, and so he's just like fuck this shit, just fuck this shit. So he's getting pissed. He's getting pissed and angry. You can show it. You can see it in the scenes. So they all drive. The Russians, Colorado Detective Roman. They drive to the bar and pretty much tell him, look, you got 1 minute to go in there, grab the key, come back out here and give us the key, or else we're gonna go in there and do it our way. So Hank goes in the bar. He meets with Paul, the owner, and Amtrak, who's like a big door guy. He's like, hey, listen, I was here last night. I know I got drunk, but I'm pretty sure I gave you a key. And Paul's like, you never gave me a key. What are you talking about? You never gave me a key. You just got really stupid drunk and then you went home. And so, you know, a minute goes by. Here comes in Detective Roman with the Russians in Colorado, and the cop is like, listen, we're doing an investigation. We need to find something. Hank is helping us, and Amtrak is like looking at Colorado, and he's like, you got a warrant to do a search? Like this guy doesn't even look like a cop. And so Colorado shows him the gun. He's like, don't mess with me. Amtrak is like, "You gonna show me your gun? Fuck you! Who do you think you are?" Right? As they start fighting, he like grabs Colorado by the neck and just kind of puts him in the air. And Colorado like gets his gun and shoots him in the stomach like 4 times. And Amtrak goes down. And then he points his gun at Paul and is like, "I'm gonna give you the count to 5. I'm going to count to 5, and if you don't tell me what I want to know, I'm going to kill you." Right? And so, Hank is like, "Hold on, wait a minute." He's not again being passive. At any moment he could have been like, because he realized after talking to Paul that the key's not there. He made a mistake. But at no moment did he try to be like, wait, the key's not here. I messed up. He's just like, "Huh, wait, wait. And so Colorado's like counting down, right? He's like 1, 2, 3, and Paul's like, whoa, whoa, like don't shoot me, like whoa, like what are you waiting? He's like that, and even Detective Roman is like, what are you doing? Like get your fuck, stop, and no one's listening. Colorado's not listening, so he gets to 5. As soon as he gets to 5, freaking Detective Roman shoots Colorado in the head, like in the temple, right? And then the Russians are like, thank you, because we hated that guy. But they're not there to kill people. So the detective is like getting pretty pissed off about that, and so she takes the little gun that she used, puts it in Amtrak's hand, and it looks like a thing, right? It looks like they had a little shootout. And so Paul is like, "Oh yeah, yeah, the key's in the safe. Remember, Hank? He's lying. He's got a shotgun in the safe." And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah." He's trying to lead him to the back room where there's a shotgun that he can use. Hank doesn't really know that. We don't know that yet. That's what happens. So there's a moment they're back in the back office, whatever, and Paul is like, "Yeah, yeah, the safe number is like 16 15 35, something like that, right?" But it's really fidgety. You gotta shake it the right way. And so Detective Roman can't open it. So finally she's like, "All right, you open it." So he does. Whenever he opens it, he pulls out his shotgun, he turns around really quickly and starts firing it. But they run out of the room. There's this metallic door that shuts, and so you know they're safe for the moment. There's a little door slit in this metallic door, so he sticks his shotgun through there and starts shooting. Doesn't hit anybody. And then the Russians put their machine gun in there and start shooting. Doesn't hit anybody, but he kills Paul's lizard, and it makes him really mad. So he's like, "Oh fuck them! Like let's go, let's go." So he opens the door to just try to shoot him, but he gets shot by the Uzis and dies. And then Hank slams the metallic door again and locks it. And Detective Roman's like, "Look, the police are coming. They're on their way. Just give us the key." And Hank's like, "I don't know where the key is. It's not here. I don't know where it is. I still need to look for it. And Roman's like, "All right, well, there's a way out of this. Just let us know where the key is, and we'll take care of business." And so they leave because the cops are on their way. Hank leaves too after they leave, before the cops get there, so he's able to get away from all everybody. And on the way to his apartment, he goes to the front door of the apartment and sees the dried puke from last night. And then he remembers he took his clothes off before he went in and threw them like to the trash. And he realizes, oh shit, like that's what I did. So he starts looking through the trash for his clothes, and that's where he sees this homeless guy that he kind of knows, and they know each other a little bit. He gives him money every now and then. So he talks to him. He's like, "Hey, is there?" He's wearing the pants, and he's like, "Hey, is there something in the pocket?" And so the homeless guy checks it. There's a key, and Hank is like, "Oh my god, thank you! Like I've been looking for this fucking key." And so he takes the key and he goes up to his apartment, and he's getting ready, like he's getting stuff, like ready to leave. And guess who shows up at the door? And there's somebody knocking on the door, and this freaks out Hank, so he picks up a baseball bat, getting ready to swing it. As soon as the door opens, here comes Russ, the neighbor, walking in, and Hank is too afraid of everybody and everything, so he swings because he doesn't know who it is. Hits Russ in the head. He falls back, and he's like, "What the hell, you twat!" And Hank is pissed. He's like, "Where were you? Where were you? What's going on? What?" He's just pissed. He's like, "What? Like, why'd you stick me with this key? Where's the money? All this stuff." And Russ is like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And Hank mentions that Yvonne was killed over this whole situation. So Russ is like, "All right, let's go take my car let's go for a ride and we'll talk." So they get into Russ's car. They're talking. Russ explains that back in the day he met the two Hebrews, Lipa and Shmuley, who sold him, like, he's like a drug dealer for him. Basically, he goes around the neighborhood in these nightclubs and sells it. And so later on, they come back with some like really strong ecstasy from Belgium. And so he has Russ selling it, and he gets arrested by Roman. But Roman, being a dirty cop, already owed money to Igor. And so what she devised a plan to make money off the drugs, selling it in the other nightclubs where Colorado's nightclubs and whatnot. So at the end of the day, Russ became their banker because they don't trust each other. They do trust him because he's had long time experience dealing with these sorts of people and money and whatnot. So at the end of the day, he talks about how he's their banker essentially. He's the banker. He takes all the money, splits it, and then gives everybody their amount. So they go to a storage unit, and so they open the storage door, and lo and behold, the storage unit, there's $4 million in there, just waiting, just in bags. They've been counted, and so that's when Russ is like, "Yeah, this is the money I've been splitting." But like I said, my dad, I got a call from London. My dad was in the hospital and he died, so I left to go see him before he died, whatever. But by accident, they thought I fleed with the money, and so everyone's freaking out and they want me dead. It's kind of a big thing. And now, because they actually want me dead, I'm afraid to return the money to them. So I'm just going to take it anyways and run. And by this time, Russ is like, he's got a big bump on his head, and there's like blood in his eyes. Like you can tell the baseball hit to his head really affected him. He's dizzy all the time and stuff. He can barely drive and whatnot. And so at a moment, Russ gets an idea and he's like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna take the money and run." And that's not good news for you, Hank. So he has a gun pointing at Hank. And Hank was on the phone, like talking to his mom. He throws the phone at Russ and is able to get the gun out of him. And he wrestles him, and Russ falls and hits his head again. So he's got another bash in the back of his head. He passes out. Hank calls Roman, is like, "Hey, I have the money." And Roman's like, "Well, we need a fall guy." And Hank is like, "Well, Russ can be the fall guy, right?" And so they discuss this before he wakes up. So he wakes up. They go. Hank is like, "We need to go somewhere. We're gonna go LaGuardia Airport International, whatever. But first, we gotta make a stop and pick up your cat." And so he didn't know where they were picking up the cat from, and so it was kind of a surprise that Detective Roman had the cat. Um, so we're coming close. We're getting close to getting through the second half of Act Two. But essentially, they have a meeting. Russ is freaking out because he doesn't trust Roman at all or the Russians. So Hank is like, basically has he like Russ was trying to run away, and so Hank has to like hold him and have one hand behind his back and like kind of push him a little bit forward. Finally, he gets loose, and when he gets loose, he attacks the little Russian guy with a machine gun, takes the machine gun from him, and kills one of the other Russian guys. They're able to get the cat back, and they're able to get away. And there's a big car chase, and the car chase ends with the detective Roman running into a ice cream truck and gets stuck. Anyways, freaking Russ and Hank, they're in their car driving off, and Russ is like getting really dizzy, and he's having problems driving, and he crashes into a bicycle rack. And so they have to be on foot. And so now they're on foot and they're running towards the stadium because now you have Detective Roman and this little Russian dude chasing after him. And so they're running in, they run to this stadium. There's a train station nearby. They get to this train station before they're reached. They're able to escape. As soon as they escape, freaking Russ, he dies on the train, probably from all the blood trauma and hits from his head. So he just dies on the train. And so Hank is alone. He's got the cat. He's got the key. He ends up running away to the beach, and that's where he spends the night. He falls asleep there, and when he wakes up, he's got that same dream again. He's got that same dream where he's like crashing into the pole, and his friend goes through the windshield and dies, and he breaks his knee, like bone comes out of his knee and whatnot. Anyways, we're pretty much. I think that's pretty much the we're at the breaking point of Act Two now. We're getting close to the beginning of Act Three. But essentially, here he gets a phone call in the morning from Detective Roman, and is like, "Listen, I know where your mom lives, and we'll kill her if you don't comply with me. I need you to bring the key to this nightclub. Meet me here. We'll do an exchange, and that's it. Like, you know, it's obviously a trap, right? And so Hank agrees. He's This is the moment of basically the dark night of the soul, right? Because he's got nowhere to go now. He can't run away. They know where his mom lives. If he doesn't do this, he's lost all hope. This is the dark night of the soul. But he has a thought. He has a thought. He's changing as a person, right? Instead of doing the thing that she wants, instead what he does is, he's like, instead of being passive and running away and being the victim all the time, he devises a plan, which we don't know what the plan is quite yet, but he does have a plan. And so he calls the Jewish guys, the Lipa and Shmuley, and is like, "Hey, I'm here. I know where the money is. Pick me up," right? And so they pick him up, and so they start asking him questions like, "Where's the key? Where's the money? This and that." And Hank is like, "Well, the thing is," and he lies because he hides the key in with the cat that he's got with him. He's had the cat this whole time, right? And but they don't know that, right? They don't know the key's hidden with the cat. But he goes, "Roman has the key, right? And I'm the only one that knows where the key goes to. So you got to go kill Roman." And so he's tricking the Jewish guys to go kill Roman for him, because if he doesn't, he's got to face Roman, and it's a big issue and whatever, blah blah blah. So this is what he does. This is his plan. He starts lying. He starts becoming like his enemy. It's no longer about being decent and morally correct. He's cracked. He's become one of them. He's becoming a gangster. He's got to do gangster stuff now. But he never kills anybody with a gun. He's not there yet. He never crosses that line ever. But he's getting close. He's getting really pushed to that point. But essentially, so they make a plan. Before they do that, they search him. They go to a house. They search him for the key. He's like butt naked. They don't find it. So they're like, okay, he's probably telling the truth. Roman has the key. But see, the key's actually hidden with the cat. So they go to the nightclub with like all these kinds of guns, even grenades, and they go in the nightclub, shoot it up, and they tie Hank to the van, to the driving wheel with a zip tie. He uses the cigarette thing that you push in, right? And it pops out and it's got the little red heat. He uses that with his mouth to burn the zip tie, and it gets loose. The reason he did that was because Detective Roman was able to escape the shootout. And so she runs away. He chases after her and steals a bat from these kids, always with the baseball with him. And so you got the other Jewish guys who are running like a different direction. Anyways, he's following her in this weird space, and that's where we meet. He runs into the little Russian guy, and the little Russian guy confronts him, wants to fight him hand to hand, and they fight hand to hand. And again, the weirdest thing about that scene is, where the hell did he come from? He just came out of nowhere, which is really strange. The other strange part was Hank knocks him out with two punches, like boom, boom, and that Russian guy's down. He's knocked out. And I mentioned this earlier in the review, what I was doing, which is I thought it was really weird because everyone dies, right? Except for Hank and except for this Russian dude. But we never, we don't see the Russian dude. We see the Russian dude get knocked out, but we don't see him die. And we never see him get back up, and he's got a gun, and he doesn't, that's it. Like, that's the end of his story, which I think is weird because, again, he was only knocked out. It's not like he died. So at any moment he could have woken up and chased after Hank. But anyways, he knocks out the little Russian dude. He runs, to this courtyard, and he's looking for the detective, Roman. And he's like walking through this little tunnel, and Roman appears behind him and is like, "Okay, Hank, it's over. Like, give me the key." Hank turns around, faces her, and is like, "Oh, I threw the key in the ocean." she's kind of mad about that, and Hank's like, "I'm just kidding. I just, you know." They have like this little thing. She kind of looks away for a split second, and that split second, Hank uses his baseball bat to knock her gun out of her hand, and the bat splits in two when he does that, which I thought was kind of weird. But it does. It splits in two, and so they're fighting, fist fighting. Detective Roman knocks him out to the ground, is about to pick up her gun, and before she can do that, Hank grabs one of the pieces of the bat that broke off. And it's got like a really sharp edge, wooden edge. So he uses that as a stake and just like pierces it through her foot. And she's like in a lot of pain, freaking out. And Hank grabs the gun and aims it at her and is trying to shoot her but can't do it because he's not really a killer. And so detective is like you know sighs because it's like, oh, I thought you were gonna kill me. Like, I know it's not in you to do it. And he's like, yeah, it's not in me to do it, but they'll do it. And so behind her shows up the two Jewish guys, Lipa and Shmuley, and shoot her. So Detective Roman's dead, and they're like, grab the key, grab the key from Roman, let's go. And Hank is like, she never had the key. I was just using you guys to kill her. So they go back to the van, shows him the key, it was with the cat, and is like, I have the key, let's go get it, whatever. They get in the van, they're on their way to collect the money, right, for the storage unit. As they're in the van, they're talking, and Hank is like, so what's going to happen to me, and the Jewish guys are talking, and they're talking, and it's like, well, like, we don't think you're a real killer. We don't think you'll actually hurt us. I know you just want to go home to your mom. You're a really good, sweet boy at the end of the day. How about we let you go and we give you $100,000 for service rendered? After all, you did get us the money. So Hank at that moment is like, oh, okay, sounds good. But to be honest, in my mind, I'm thinking they're probably gonna kill him. Once they get to the storage unit and they get the money, they're probably gonna shoot him in the back of the head. Like that's probably what would have happened. Um, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. The guy sitting up front, Lipa, is uh, is gonna smoke a cigarette, but the push lighter in the car isn't there, right? Because Hank used it and it's like gone, right? And so Lipa pulls out this lighter that belonged to Yvonne, and Hank realizes he's got Yvonne's lighter, and he gets real emotional, right? Real emotional. And the Jewish guy sitting in the back, Shmuley, notices and is about to pull his gun out, but Hank plays it real cool. He's just like lighting a cigarette and is like playing it really cool. And then, but inside he's like tormented because he knows these are the guys that killed Yvonne, his girlfriend. So what he does is he starts flooring it in the car, in the van, right? He has his seatbelt on, they don't have it on. He floors it. The car's going faster and faster and faster. The guys are freaking out. They're like, slow down. Like, why are you going so fast? And it's like they realize, it's because of the lighter. It's like, we can talk about this, we can work this out, right? It was like the last thing said. The van crashes into this metallic beam that was part of a bridge or something. And the guy sitting in the front goes through the windshield, smashes his head against a fire hydrant. His head is smashed to like it blew up like a his head is completely smashed, brains everywhere. And the other guy who's sitting in the back, he's kind of laying like on the floor, but like up there with like just up there, and his throat was cut. So he's dead. And Hank has this like blood coming down from his forehead. He was protecting the cat when they were about to crash, and he had the airbag. So the cat's okay, he's okay. And then it cuts to that's the climax, right? That's the climax. The rising action was the shooting at the club. We're in Act 3. We're at the climax. Now we're at the what's called the denouement, which is the last bit of scenes to just tie everything nice into like a nice bow, right? So essentially, the coolest thing about this ending is that Hank dresses up like Russ in his punk outfits, the jacket with the studs, and he cuts his hair. He had long hair. He cuts his hair like a mohawk, and he uses Russ's passport to go to Mexico. Bobby, Bronco guy is here. What's up, Bronco guy? How's that Bronco you got? Is it a joy? Did I finish the book? Yeah, I finished the book. I finished the book. It was a good book. Nice, nice. Almost done with that, huh? Yeah, I finished my book. Somebody recommended a book called The Seven Sleepers. I'm gonna check out. I might read that at some point at the beginning of next year. But anyways, I'm getting to the very end of the movie here. So Hank made himself look like Russ with the mohawk and everything. He obviously has the money. Hamza. Yep, that's me. Yep, you're the one that recommended it. Yeah. Art of War. I've read that one, Art of War. Yeah, yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. I have a copy of that somewhere over here. Um, that one's interesting. Not my favorite, but it is interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't my favorite book, but it was good. It's good. Some interesting stuff there. Um, all right, Bobby. Thanks for stopping in and saying hi, man. I appreciate that very much. Good luck with the Bronco. Um, watch Caught Stealing if you haven't yet on Netflix. Pretty good movie. Pretty good crime movie, noir. It's like a neo. We call it neo crime noir, uh, with dark humor. But anyways, yeah, I thought that was really cool how he dressed up looking like Russ, using his passport to go to Mexico, because obviously the he is under suspicion for a lot of the murders that happened, so he's got to just leave. Honestly, not the best ending. He did survive, but he survived by becoming a criminal, which is like not what he wanted to do in the first place. But he's able to scheme and lie his way to safety. He's become a criminal, and he's living. Makes it to Mexico. He has the money. Obviously, he sends half the money to his mom, which is like $2 million, and he takes the other half with him to Mexico. And he's got the cat with him. And so it ends with him sitting at a bar. He's drinking club soda, and he's like watching baseball on a TV, and he's kind of like done with baseball. He's just like he's not that interested anymore, and he's just kind of like he's accepted his new life. You know, baseball's done. He can't do that anymore. He's gone through this whole journey of becoming a person who is proactive in the choices he makes instead of just being passive all the time and just things happening to him. He's making some very proactive choices. He's no longer a victim. He's not a hero either, by the way. He's not like a hero. He doesn't become a hero. He becomes someone who survived and was proactive. He became pretty much a gangster, and essentially, um, he had to kill people in his own way, not by using a gun, but in his own way. And he got his revenge for Yvonne at the end of the day. At the climax, he got his revenge. So again, not a movie about actual justice through morality and ethics. No, it was the complete opposite. It was winning through lying and stealing and pretending and scheming. But he had no choice. He had to become that. He had to become like his enemy to beat him, unfortunately. So there you go. There's the movie. There's my critique of it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This movie review and plot outline was brought to you by the Stay Gold Film Festival on filmfreeway.com. It is accepting short films right now. Also brought to you by my book called Dialogues, Oklahoma Independent Cinema, Actors in the Future of Film and AI. I predicted how AI would change and revolutionize independent filmmaking, which is happening right now as we speak with all these AI tools making so many fun and awesome cinematic scenes and visuals, and being able to act out stuff and then using AI to do motion tracking and turn you into a character. It is what's happening. I'm sure Hollywood hates, but at the same time, it is awesome because for us who are not Hollywood and we love filmmaking and wanted to be filmmakers and directors all our lives, we have a chance now to dip in and do our thing. The other thing I want to say is I am releasing my feature film called Stray Kids. It's similar. It's very similar to Caught Stealing. It's got some similarities. Very gritty. It's neo realistic noir. Crime. It took me 15 years to make because again, I'm not Hollywood. I'm gonna release it January 1st, 2026, the first day of January. So I'm excited for you guys to check that out and let me know what you think about my movie. Took me 15 years and $5,000. When you don't have the money, you got to spend the time. That's just the fact of the matter. But I'm excited for all these AI tools that I've been waiting on and predicting would happen. And now that they're here, I'm actually going to get back to creating movies using these AI tools. And I'm really excited about that. Really, really excited about that one. I got a music video coming out in February that we filmed November, December, and I'm excited about that. We're gonna do some reshoots this weekend, so I'll be probably posting about the reshoots. And we've kind of developed with my brother this demon character that we created for the music video. We've kind of been thinking about, in case we do a whole movie with AI cinema tools. Um, Thinking about turning that character into a real thing, to a real movie. What is this? Omar Farouk. Yo, what are you yapping about? He says. Omar Farouk says, eat a steak and go to bed. Go to gym. Thank you, Omar, for the great advice. I just wrapped up. I wrapped up the movie review. Did my spiel about what's coming out soon on my behalf on YouTube for free. I promoted my book, promoted the film festival. You're right. What am I yapping about? What am I still yapping about? You're right. I did have steak. It was delicious. I had steak earlier. And you're right. I should go to the gym. I need to start working out some more. Great advice from great people. It was really good chatting with everybody who popped in. Bobby, Hamza, Krishna, Juan Latour, Cornelius, Jim Royce from the UK, the GOAT, Trevor, Carly Thomas, who's Bree YT. All these people that commented below and stepped in, I appreciate you very much. My next and last movie review for the year is coming up next week. I'm doing a movie review and plot outline for the new movie that was just released not too long ago on Netflix called The Great Flood. If you haven't seen it, it's very interesting movie. I recommend it. And when you know I recommend it, it's going to be a good one. So, all right, folks, that's it for me. You have a good night, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. And I'll be seeing you on the next one. And I appreciate you for stopping in. See ya. My name is Lasso, for those who don't know. And I'm broadcasting live from Tulsa, Oklahoma from my trailer. I'll be seeing you on the next one.